We continue now with our conference subject. And now this may be one of the leading causes of child deaths in the world, but literally it has taken decades for science to come up with a vaccine for malaria, against malaria. And fatefully, in October 2021, the WHO gave its approval to a vaccine for the first time. And that vaccine, the RTS, may, all being well, soon be joined by another, the R21, in a stroke, boosting our ability to fight back, ladies and gentlemen. And the pressure is now on to scale up production and reach as many people and affected areas as quickly as possible. And to help us understand how to do this, I'm joined by a fantastic panel standing there in the wings. And this panel brings together the best of vaccine manufacturing know-how, as well as a unique implementing country perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call our panelists, our distinguished panelists, one by one. Please join me in welcoming Her Excellency Mrs. Khumbize Kandodo, Chiponda, Minister of Health from Malawi. Welcome to you. Welcome. I'm going to move as well with you over here as we begin to take our seats. And next, I'd like to welcome Her Excellency Dr. Margarida Tavares, Deputy Minister for Health Promotion from Portugal. Bienvenida, welcome. Dr. Atul Gawande, Assistant Administrator for Global Health, USAID. Welcome to you. Thank you. Dr. Thomas Brewer, Chief Global Health Officer, GSK. Welcome, welcome, welcome to you. And Adar Poonawalla, CEO of the Serum Institute of India. Welcome to you. Prasad, Executive Director of Bharat Biotech Limited. Welcome, bienvenido. And last but not least, from the World Health Organization, Lauren Franzel, Unit Head, Vaccine Alliance and Partnerships. Welcome, Lauren, bienvenida. All right, ladies and gentlemen, bienvenidos a todos, bienvenidos a Madrid. We begin with this fantastic panel. Wow, welcome to you all. I want to go first to you, Your Excellency, and talk about Malawi. And Gavi is supporting your country's malaria vaccine program. Just tell us, how important is this right now for your country?
Thank you so much for giving us the platform to share our experience on malaria from Malawi, but I guess I'm also speaking for my fellow African countries like Ghana. We're together in the pilot test, as well as Kenya. We're also involved in the pilot test of the vaccine. So first, I think just to give a brief background of the impact of malaria. Malawi is a country of about 19 million. And you know, malaria, almost 40% of outpatient, those who go to OPD in all the hospitals, 40%, it is because of malaria.
40%?
40%.
Outpatients?
Yes, outpatients, it is because of malaria, yes. And at high risk, of course, children, especially the under 5, the pregnant women, as well as the elderly. But also just to take note that it is also the highest leading cause of anemia in Malawi, especially among the children. And unfortunately, that can quickly lead to death. So just to give an example, in the year 2022, we had almost 4.6 million cases of malaria in Malawi, and we had about 1,800 deaths due to malaria-related causes. So that is how serious it is. Now, in terms of admission as well, 10% of all the admissions across, it is because of malaria. So you can imagine the huge burden malaria causes on the country. So that is why we are so grateful, first for being picked to be part of the pilot study of developing this malaria vaccine. It will be an added intervention because we have been doing the other interventions. My colleagues know we give the treated nets to pregnant women. We do mass distribution, and thanks, of course, to Gavi and the Global Fund, they provide us nets. Each and every pregnant woman, they get a net. But also we do the prophylaxis for malaria as well, especially for the pregnant women. We also do residual vector spray in some of the high burden areas. But then this is, I think, a very strategic intervention for me. Because like in Malawi, we had the cyclones. The time we had cyclones, we had already done residual spray. Now you are getting the rains, you are getting the floods. It washes away all what you did.
That's incredible. So the cyclones are just washing away all the hard work, prevention you're doing against malaria.
So it means the only reliable intervention is the vaccine, because you give it to a child, it is already in your body.
Even if the cyclone comes.
Exactly. And also the other thing is that malaria, we look beyond, it has got a socioeconomic impact. If a child is sick in a home, the whole home is disturbed. The mother cannot go out to work, they cannot do anything. And sometimes if it's maybe a child-headed home, then it means the siblings do not even go to school. If that child is admitted, it means the mother is with the child in the hospital, then some of the siblings, especially girls, they'll be required to stay at home to look after the house. And malaria, when you're admitted, not less than 7 days. You know, you still get side effects. For you to get back the strength and everything else, almost 2 weeks are gone. So it has a high social economic impact on the development of the country, on the economy of the country. So these are the issues.
Families, as
exactly, and families as well. So these are the issues which we have to look at. So we are excited about the vaccine. We have already rolled out in Malawi. We have rolled out in, I think, about 12 districts of Malawi. With the help from Gavi and the Smith Crime, they've given us about 10 million doses, which we have to share between Malawi, Ghana, and Kenya. Malawi alone, we are targeting about 700,000 one-year-old for this phase. The dose you give at 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, and at 22 months. So far, it has been good. The women, they have received it, you know, because they understand. It's when your child is sick with malaria, it's not an easy thing. So you can imagine if somebody is offering you relief, it was well accepted. And so far, so good. We have done some assessment. At least the first dose, it is about 90%. The second dose, about 80%. The only dose which we are having problems with absorption, it is the fourth one. But I guess because the fourth one is coming after 15 months. After 15 months, I think the mother, you have even forgotten that your child has, you know, one more dose to get. So it's something which we have to work at. I know because it's a new vaccine, maybe in the next 2 or 3 years, we will find out that maybe we have a single dose. These things happen. And I'm happy that we have manufacturers here. I'm sure that they're already working on some of these things to see how best can we make.
Smiling, they're thinking. Yeah.
Yes, how can we make it more user-friendly? You know, single dose, a double dose, it's manageable. But if it's 4, you know, you tend to forget. But we are still trying to find a way of saying we need to have an app to remind the mother, like we were doing with the COVID. No, you are due for dose, a booster dose. You are due for ABCD. So maybe
because you forget.
Yes, because you forget. So that has been the main challenge. The other one is that I'm saying we are going to target about 700, but I have over maybe 2 million babies who needs this vaccine. So how do you even choose? So I'm also happy that we have our manufacturers here. We need more of this vaccine. Like I said, it's a very, very important intervention in terms of the fight against malaria. In Malawi, we have already launched what we call the Zero Malaria Campaign. We're saying we need to get done with malaria. We need to end malaria by at least 2030. There are so many countries they had malaria, but now they're malaria free. So it means it is doable. But we need more of the vaccines or more of the intervention. The last one, before I stop, is that we need also cross-border coordination, collaboration. Malawi and Zambia, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, you have villages across the borders. I can cook in Zambia, then I'll sleep in Malawi, vice versa, the same with Mozambique. So it will not make sense if an intervention is provided to me, but not to my neighbor. Because we are always, the mosquitoes, they don't need passports.
They don't need passports.
They'll just cross,
mosquitoes don't need passports, no.
Yeah, so for such interventions, I think to work properly, if you can treat as a block, I think then it will make more sense. So, but I'm happy that we have manufacturers there. We need more vaccine, but also just to finalize, when you're giving the vaccine, it is a cold chain item. We are happy that at least with the support from Gavi towards the COVID, we have the cold supply chain, but maybe others they will not have. So when we're looking at the commodity, let's also look at supporting how we're going to give that vaccine, how we're going to support that health worker who has to take the vaccine to the people in the hard-to-reach areas. They need to go there, mobility, storage of the vaccine itself. So we need to look at the whole picture, not just the commodity, the vaccine itself.
You raise such an important point, how to transport it there to the actual arm itself. Your Excellency, a fantastic way to start this panel and to hear directly about the work that you're doing there in Malawi. We're going to stay in Africa right now, and we are going to hear right now from a famous footballer. Many of you may know him. We'll play a video of the former Chelsea and Real Madrid football player who also played for Ghana, Michael Essien, about his contribution to fighting against malaria.
Hi, my name is Michael Essien, ex-footballer and assistant coach in FC Northland. I was born in Ghana, Accra, but grew up in the Otubriko, very small town, not far from Accra, and I've suffered malaria several times when I was young. I remember having like a small area back of the house, and that's where we play football, and we have to play barefooted. I remember my first time wearing football shoes. I was so uncomfortable. I was very uncomfortable, so I have to take them off and use my my barefoot, and I was much better than that. And then slowly I got used to it. Malaria is a very big disease in Africa. Growing up around those small towns, it's very common to get it, and it's very severe and it's very dangerous. It kills people, mainly the younger ones. I was lucky enough, to survive and go through and live my life as normal. I've seen some friends who suffered really bad. Some died. At last, there's a vaccine against this very bad disease. I think the vaccine is going to help a lot, very much, to save a lot of life, especially the children. It's going to help very, very much. So I have a lot of sisters who have a lot of young ones. So yes, I would advise them to take the vaccine. There is 260,000 children under the age of 5 died annually in Africa of malaria. This is why it's great to have this new vaccine to fight against this deadly disease.
Wow. What a beautiful video, what a beautiful message. All right, we're going to go now to Portugal and hear from the Minister of Health. Your Excellency, what do you think is the best way for donors really to collectively support these malaria vaccine programs?
Oh, thank you very much. Let me just to greet my distinguished colleagues in the panel and all participants, and also thank Gavi for inviting me to be here. And I'm here to testify how important Gavi's work is and how much we have achieved, vaccinating 1/8 of the world's population. It's huge. The world is a fairer and safer place thanks to Gavi, and it is an honor to participate and contribute to this success. So how can a country like Portugal support the integration of the malaria vaccine? Also with our example. Portugal is a small country. We are only 10 million inhabitants, and we managed to implement a national immunization program almost 60 years ago, starting in 1965. And at that time, we were a poor country under a dictatorship. Our national immunization program was and is a tremendous success, and we have vaccination coverage consistently above 95%. We save so many lives and so many resources. So we did it with equity and guaranteeing universal coverage, really leaving no one behind, reinforcing the modernization and development of tools to support the program management, combating complacency and the vaccine hesitancy by investing in trust and creating new vaccination opportunities, investing in information for citizens, but also for health professionals, enabling them both to make increasingly informed and participatory decisions, and increasing the sharing of credible information about vaccines. And also creating partnerships with different sectors of society, promoting networks of vaccination ambassadors, with the aim of reaching more and more target populations, making the promotion of vaccination more efficient as a right, a duty, and also an act of citizenship. Again, during COVID-19, we were one of the first countries in the world achieving one of the highest vaccination coverage.
Yeah, I remember.
And we were able, for that, we were able to open the country and quickly allow the economy and the society to recover. We estimate that with the COVID-19 vaccination, we avoided more than 2,000 deaths in the country. So, yeah, it was a huge accomplishment. So, more than our financial resources, we must be able to share other type of resources like research, logistics, technology, and in fact be able to transfer and build local capacity, help to build and to establish national immunization programs in each country, and just don't forget to doing this alongside strengthening all measures to prevent malaria in order to maximize the effect of vaccine and obtain the best health results.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Your Excellency. Great to hear what Portugal is doing. We move now to the US. We're going to get a US perspective now on the importance of the malaria vaccine program. Just tell us, Your Excellency, about the significance of this.
Thank you. First of all, we've been in the United States investing in getting a malaria vaccine for 50 years. And
50.
50.
Wow. Okay.
So this is a dream, right? That we have gotten to this point. So this is the case. You just heard this morning about HPV being the best buy that Gavi has. And for every 70 girls that's vaccinated with the HPV vaccine, it's 1 life saved. Well, in high-burden countries, for every 200 children who are vaccinated, it's 1 life saved. It is almost as good a buy. Now, so we're very proud of the vaccine. There are trade-offs here. Number one, it's expensive. And so that's meant that the cost effectiveness is really only there right now for the high burden countries. Number two, it's about only 40% effective in the current trials right now. We'll see what the subsequent trials show on others. But that means it is not a replacement for the other parts of the treatment. You still need the bed nets. You still need the indoor residual spraying. You still need the test to treat capability. There's 4 doses. That is hard, as you heard from the minister.
Yeah.
And they're not in sync with the regular vaccination. So this makes it a difficult vaccine to implement. And of course, we have the problem of limited supply. Those are the challenges and the trade-offs here. But here's why we still make it a major priority for the US government and are supporting Gavi strongly in this effort and are supporting at the country level how to implement, including in Malawi. And number one, it's because our gains in improving deaths from malaria have plateaued. It was flattened even before COVID and continues to be. And second, a big part of the reason is we see increasing resistance. Resistance to the nets, resistance to the test to treat capability, resistance to the indoor residual spraying. So we need another tool, and joining it as a tool, the malaria vaccine is important. So we, I was with Minister Chiponda just last month, and getting to see this in the real world. And, as you explained to me at that time, more than half the beds, you just explained now, more than half the beds are filled with children with malaria. And as the trial rolled out in the other districts, you could actually see it wasn't just the deaths, it was the emptying out of the hospital beds. You could see the difference in the lowered bed rates and enabling the health sector to focus on additional problems. So that visible reduction, I think, is also part of the reason there is such high demand from countries for this. And I'll just finish by saying, to me, this is personal. My family, I never met my grandmother because she died of malaria.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My father was 10 years old. He was at her bedside as she died over 6 weeks from the disease. They knew there was a treatment out there, that there were treatments, and in a village in India, they simply did not have access. It changed our whole family's trajectory. It's the reason my father became a doctor. It's the reason I'm here. And this I see as a major stepping stone on that journey to change that story.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Right, I have something special to tell you. I'm going to go over here because this does need a sense of occasion. I have an announcement, ladies and gentlemen. We are extremely excited to announce that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has pledged $3 million matched by the Gavi matching fund. So that is $6 million. And so, of course, contributions like this are so important. And we look forward towards rolling out more and more malaria vaccines. Thank you so much. A round of applause. All right, we're going now to the second part of our panel on malaria, and we're going to talk now and bring in the manufacturers whose collaboration is so vital, as we heard from the minister here from Malawi, directing so many questions and points to the manufacturers. Of course, they're going to help in scaling up what is needed to help defeat this disease. First to you, Dr. Thomas Brower, would like to hear from you. Please share your perspectives on getting the RTSS GSK's vaccine to market.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the question. All what you said about the vaccine is true. But GSK is still very, very proud to have delivered the first malaria vaccine because it's the first and only malaria vaccine around. Obviously, that doesn't happen in isolation. It always happens with many, many partners. I would just like to mention 2, PATH, who was instrumental in the clinical development, and the Walter Reed Institute in the US, which was very important in the beginning. The journey took over 30 years, and GSK has spent so far $700 million in this endeavor, with other partners contributing a few $100 million more. The development was full of scientific challenges throughout the development because it's a parasite, and developing a vaccine against parasite has specific challenges. The vaccine was obviously developed, the phase 3 was done in Africa, in 7 countries and in 11 sites. So it was very important for us that investigators and scientists from Africa were involved right from the beginning, because once the vaccine will be implemented, it's important that people in these countries have been an active part of developing such a vaccine. Then in 2015, we received the first positive opinion of a regulatory agency, the European Regulatory Agency. But then in 2016, the WHO SAGE committee decided to first perform an implementation study to test whether the vaccine is actually implementable, and that was then subsequently done by Malawi, Ghana, and Kenya. And GSK donated 10 million doses, which were mentioned already, to run this implementation trial. For GSK, it meant we had to put the manufacturing site in idle because we didn't know if and when the vaccine would be used, and the vaccine has a certain shelf life, and if we would have just continued producing, we would have, in the end, have to discard it. We restarted production then in 2020 with Gavi funds, which was underwritten by MedAccess, way before the final decision on implementation was actually made. And then as the implementation program read out and it showed it actually can be implemented, it's safe and has an impact, and you mentioned the number of 200 vaccinees, 1 life saved. WHO pre-qualified the vaccine in 2022, and Gavi provided funds so UNICEF can now procure the vaccine. Correct, the demand currently far outstrips to supply, so therefore for the time being, WHO is in charge to come up with a plan how the vaccine will be progressively rolled out, but to lower the price and increase the volume, we have teamed up with Bharat and are in the process of transferring the technology, and Bharat will be the final market authorization holder, because in their setting they can produce higher volumes at a lower price. The adjuvant in the vaccine will come from GSK in the future as well. So to round up the story, we are not only proud to have delivered the first malaria vaccine, with partners obviously, but we are also proud to being a pathfinder for future malaria vaccines, because when you think the implementation trial doesn't have to be repeated for all the vaccine, it's the first mover who has to take the pain and do it for everyone, and then it's clear now that malaria vaccines can be implemented in Africa. Along the way, policies were developed, funding for malaria vaccines, not just for RTSS, are in place, so the future looks better than ever before. Thank you.
Wow, what a sentence to end on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Thomas. So just to be very clear, you brought the first malaria vaccine to market. Okay, and sitting right next to you is Adar Poonawalla, and you hope to bring the second vaccine, the R21, to Gavi countries. So what are the Serum Institute of India's plans then for this vaccine, and of course your commitment to the Gavi market?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you in person after a long time. You know, after the misery we have all gone through with COVID, I thought it was nice to have updates and good news to share, which I think my colleagues at GSK and Bharat are already doing with the first malaria vaccine. And, you know, our partnership with the University of Oxford for many years now with Serum Institute has finally culminated into filing a dossier with a very effective vaccine with the WHO, which is now under review. And as that takes its course, we're answering their queries and questions and their stringent review process, which will take another few months. And hopefully, if this gets pre-qualified, then, you know, we have a capacity of 200 million doses that we can make annually. Now, that sounds like an absurd figure to most, but that's just par for the course. Most of the vaccines we make, at least Indian vaccine manufacturers make, are in very large volumes. So if you want low-cost vaccines and good quality vaccines, the partners that Gavi chooses, and now it's so good to see also innovation from GSK and other companies in the West that collaborate with Indian companies to be able to address, large volume, efficient manufacturing for these parts of the world, because the price is very important.
Adam, if I may interrupt, I heard a number there. Within 2 months' time, what could happen then? Is that when it could be ready? So my journalist brain is working here.
Let me clarify before everyone gets...
Breaking news.
Yeah, so in a couple of months, WHO and the SAGE, if they pre-qualify and choose to approve the vaccine, we can start manufacturing. And the message here is that, we need a 4-month head start in starting to manufacture. We have a 200 million dose annual capacity, and I doubt the demand over the next 2 years will even be that much, because, the preparedness from the countries and so many other things have to happen. But in theory, at least 100 million dose supply on an annual basis could begin in 2024.
So next year, excellent.
Next year itself. And so now it's down to the countries and Gavi and WHO and all of us together to try and see how we can get there as soon as possible, because the more doses, and from the figures you mentioned, if you reach 200 million doses, over the next 2 years or even 3 years, we're talking about 1 million lives that could, in theory, be saved. So I think that's really something we can look forward to. And of course, that will be supplemented and increased with the capacity coming from Bharat and GSK. So, supply is never going to be an issue as far as the way it's looking at the moment over the next 2 to 3 years. We need to wait another year, I think, for things to stabilize, to be very clear. And, supply and, of course, affordability. That's the other point I should stress here. We are in the process of finalizing our contracts with UNICEF and Gavi to provide this vaccine at less than $5, less than $4 a dose, provided the volumes come up. And that'll be crystallized in stages, and UNICEF will announce that and make that public once all that is signed. But again, that's based on the volume. So the key is, with Gavi and the partners and manufacturers, and I've always said this, it's possible to bring down prices as long as there's long-term forecasting and volumes that can be given, so that the economies of scale of manufacturing can then be passed on, So that's what we're striving to do. And if we reach, large volumes, 50, 60 million doses annually at least, then we can bring down the prices down to that level. And so you've got an affordable vaccine. You won't have issues on supply. Now I think the challenge is getting the vaccines into arms and getting the countries ready. And all the support from the WHO here, I must say, is very crucial and very important, because without them going through reviewing, the safety, the efficacy, and all of that, we won't be able to get the vaccines approved. So I think that's very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adar. Fantastic to hear all this exciting progress. We continue with another manufacturer. Dr. Sai Prasad, Bharat's Biotech is undergoing a product transfer for the RTSS vaccine. Talk to us about the progress of this and the efforts to accelerate it, as well as Bharat's commitment to the Gavi market.
Thank you. Thank you, Gavi, for organizing this wonderful meeting. I think it's nice to see everybody in person after a very long time. We have to get used to this. And Your Excellencies and my fellow panelists. We at Bharat are fully committed to the malaria vaccine program. We are receiving the technology transfer from GSK. We have split it up into 3 parts. There is a QC part, the drug substance part, and the drug product part. And we're doing this in multiple facilities so that we can accelerate this tech transfer process. And it's very important for us that we are able to fully receive what GSK has developed over the last 20 or 30 years. And we are able to manufacture product at scale at affordable price points, at the same standards that GSK has developed, because the product specifications and metrics are already well established. We come to this, malaria program with a backstory. Bharat is I think a 25-year-old company. 20 years ago, we were working on 5 or 6 different malarial antigens in partnership with PATH, with the CDC in the US, ICGEB in India. But none of those antigens were successful. So we know what it means to develop a malarial antigen and take it through the preclinical studies and clinical trials and have failures. So we understand that. We have that bad taste in our mouth. So the first time when we started discussing with GSK about this partnership, we were so excited, to be a part of malaria again. That's all we wanted. So what are we doing now? We're investing into brand new manufacturing facilities in India, very large-scale filling lines and large-scale bioprocess facilities. Our teams have visited GSK's facilities multiple times to start this tech transfer process, and that process is already on. We hope to manufacture in the tens of millions of doses and bring down pricing to affordable rates. And that's what it is that we do eventually in India, in the DCVMN manufacturers. We are not in the business of making 5 or 10 million doses. We have to make vaccines either in the tens of millions of doses or in the hundreds of millions of doses, and that's how we're able to bring down costs.
Wishing you the best of luck with all your work. Thank you so much, Dr. Sai. Now, we're going to go to you, Lauren. You've heard our panel speak here. Lauren, of course, is from the WHO unit head of Vaccine Alliance and Partnerships. So, Lauren, how does all of this come together in your eyes?
Thank you so much, Maria, and joining my other panelists in their gratitude to the organizers and to our hosts. I'm really pleased to be on this panel with such an esteemed set of alliance partners. I wanted to add to so much that's already been said. I wanted to start by framing the picture. We've heard a lot of data out of the burden and the picture of morbidity and mortality that's seen in Malawi and other settings. We know that in total, almost 235 million cases of malaria occur every year, and the overwhelming majority is in Africa. 95% is in Africa. So WHO as a priority area of our focus is looking at malaria control, and of course this vaccine is a critical new addition to the toolkit. Not replacing existing tools, but additive, so we're really excited. I also want to say that we need to acknowledge where we've been in order to acknowledge the opportunities that are at our feet. We have seen through the malaria vaccine implementation program the amazing capacities from Ghana, the amazing experience in Malawi. I myself had the ability to see the vaccine delivered in Kenya a few months ago now. So we just know that there's tremendous demand for this vaccine. In fact, I think the Alliance has estimated that demand between 80 and 100 million doses in the coming years. So we know there's just a tremendous need. I really want to extend the gratitude to those 3 countries in particular, because they have paved the way for the other countries to then learn and gain and move quickly in standing up malaria programs as well. So thank you to those countries. I also want to say that within MVIP, this malaria vaccine implementation program, it's a little microcosm of the Gavi Alliance DNA. It's a private-public partnership. It's GSK, it's PATH, it's WHO, it's the countries. And so we should be really proud of what's been accomplished there. PATH has been tremendous in the work with the communities. WHO has brought the technical and scientific expertise, and GSK the supply. So we're really proud and also very grateful to the donors. Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, the Global Fund also contributed, as well as UNITAID. So a real coming together for this urgent global health priority. Now, Maria, I did want to talk briefly about this opportunity of what it means for routine immunization. We've been hearing about the backsliding, and we believe that this new vaccine, in addition to the existing sets of vaccines, we know that there is community demand for this vaccine. We know that mothers and fathers and other caregivers are actively bringing their children to be vaccinated in the pilot settings. It's in the first year of life, it's in the second year of life, and so this provides opportunity to deliver other vaccines, but other life-saving health interventions, deworming, vitamin A, and more. So it's a really exciting opportunity for global health to advance. I wanted to just close with a few comments on what we can expect next. So WHO is deeply committed to the delivery of technical advice that we've learned. We've seen the experiences from these 3 settings. We want to be continuing to work at the global, the regional, and the country level to make sure that the countries have what they need to stand up high-quality vaccine programs for malaria vaccine in the coming years, especially as the supply environment improves. I also wanted to restate WHO's commitment to a thorough and efficient review of the dossiers of new vaccines. Adar touched on this. So there is a lot of emphasis, and this is a top priority, to ensure that the reviews of dossiers are efficient and thorough. And then lastly, I just wanted to start by a conclusion of what is this opportunity. It is nothing less than saving tens of thousands of children's lives. And we are all here on this panel, from what I'm hearing, deeply committed. And I think that extends to the whole of the Alliance. So very much gratitude to this panel, and thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Lauren. You put it so beautifully, saving so many children's lives, hundreds of thousands of lives. And Lauren, you also mentioned Ghana. You were recently there. We have the Minister of Health of Ghana here, and I would like to just invite Your Excellency, the Minister of Ghana, Kawako Agayaman, to say a few words. If you could be brief, Your Excellency. If there a microphone for His Excellency coming to you now, just tell us what the fact that you're one of the first countries where the malaria vaccine has been piloted with Gavi support, what this means to your country, Minister.
Thank you very much. The 3 settings, Ghana, Malawi, Kenya, we are ready as an implementing
you can move your
partner.
Yes.
We are ready
yes.
as implementing partners. And we're talking about malaria in Africa. Consumption of about 50% of malaria cases in the world is in Africa. Meanwhile, from GSK to Serum to Bharat, there is no manufacturer in Africa.
There is no manufacturer
in Africa. Again, we are going to be only consumers. And I've been talking to GSK, I've been talking to Serum. Bharat, I've told you about this. Ghana is ready to produce vaccine, fail and finish tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, nobody is talking about that. But let us go back to COVID and look at the experience that we faced.
Correct.
AstraZeneca with Serum, Oxford University. Then India got a surge. They blocked their frontiers, and Africa was short of supplies for 5 good months, COVID. We are ever ready. When we got our first vaccines from COVAX, within 44 days, we were vaccinating, and we moved as fast as we could. You can talk to Atul, and he will tell you about our primary healthcare system and the type of health workforce that we have at the very low level, community level, who will do the vaccinations for us. So I'm pleading with the investors and the manufacturers and the developers that we are ready to manufacture in our countries as well. So let us also look at Africa for some challenges that we may not want to face any longer. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, wow, thank you. A fantastic call there, strong words, a call there for manufacturing of malaria vaccines in Africa. Thank you, Your Excellency, for that spontaneous intervention there. And now we have 6 minutes left. I want to just go round very quickly in 60 seconds with my panelists, just to hear from you a message, your final closing message. What do we need to strengthen the alliance by establishing malaria as a new vaccination program? To you first, Minister.
Thank you so much. I think Honorable Minister of Ghana has said it all. The vaccine, malaria vaccine, to us, it's part of the essential health package.
Yeah.
It's not just any other vaccine.
Essential.
It's part of the essential health package. We need it. We have children dying on a daily basis from malaria, from anemia due to malaria. We can save life. There's no, doesn't make any sense. You save that child because we have pumped in so much money, HIV, there's no more transmission. So you have pumped in so much, no more transmission of HIV, that child is okay. Only to lose the same child to malaria, something which can be preventable. So we need the vaccine in Africa. Let's make it affordable. That is the most important thing. It is a life-saving. Yeah. Let's make it affordable for our countries. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. Minister, to you, the same question. What do we need to do to strengthen the Gavi Alliance by establishing malaria as a new vaccination program?
Yeah, so I believe that we need to provide means, tools, resources for countries to adopt a global framework, a global pact with measures, with practical measures in all sectorial areas, so to create and to strengthen national immunization programs.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. And to you, Dr. Atul, Your Excellency, what do you think is needed?
Two things. One is to echo what Lauren said from WHO. Let us not silo this implementation. It should join the other vaccines that are rolling out. I got to see in Malawi that the vaccine rollout was happening with rotavirus offered, plus other routine vaccines, and even the offer of adult vaccination to the parents as well. Then second, I would say everything we can do with the manufacturers to lower the price is going to be beneficial. Right now, the cost effectiveness is really for the 10% highest burden countries, really being the primary place of benefit, and that will get better as your volumes get better.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Next to Dr. Thomas Brouwer, I want to ask you the same question.
Yeah, so for me, if I pick one thing, it's the power of partnerships in innovation on all levels. And just to give you 3 recent examples, Kenya, Malawi, and Ghana recently approved RTSS, but they did it in a WHO Africa Vaccine Regulatory Forum partnership. So that's one example. Involving investigators in Africa early on. So you have people who really understand the vaccine once it's rolled out. It's another example, and the last one is the collaboration between Gavi, GSK, and MedAccess, a new innovative tool to fund activities, might be an example for other things as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Thomas. Adar, what do you see as what's needed really to strengthen Gavi, the alliance, by establishing malaria as a new vaccination program?
Well, I think most of it has been said, and as we're working toward building the demand and the supply, as I mentioned, at a very affordable price as the volumes pick up, if I was to just highlight one thing that I am a little fearful on, is that do we really have enough funding in place if we're talking about the procurement and implementation of these vaccines at the scale that we're talking about? Because, you know, in the last few years, we were talking about a few million doses coming to the African continent. But if we're talking in the next year of 100 million doses annually coming, the procurement, implementation, and all of that, even if it's an affordable price at less than $3, whatever it is, do we have, you know, the necessary funding in place? I don't know. I'm just raising this question as a naive thought, but it is going to be substantial. And if we're talking about implementing, you know, these kind of volumes, even at an affordable price, do we have, you know, the funding and all of that, the resources that Gavi and the partners need to implement it? And I, you know, I hope that, and I appeal to, you know, all the partners and others to see that we can get to that target.
Thank you, Adar. Dr. Sai, what's needed?
Thank you. I'll keep my comments brief. We're running out of time.
I love that you're looking at my clock. I love it.
I agree with Lauren. I think malaria as a vaccine will strengthen the alliance. It has already strengthened the alliance. The fact that the first set of malaria vaccines, novel vaccines, are being introduced in Africa before being introduced anywhere else in the world, that's a testament to the alliance. And I think we need to be proud of this, and this has to be spoken about and celebrated. It's not just the malaria vaccine, it's the MENA vaccine earlier, it's a typhoid conjugate vaccine earlier. These are all novel developed vaccines purely for low-income countries which, the diseases are present. And irrespective of whether we make it in India or China or Africa, I think eventually we need to have product manufactured at scale, at the right quality, and at the right price points. That's what is going to make the difference eventually. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Sai. Right, the final thoughts, the final words go to the WHO. Lauren, what do you have for us?
Oh, well, I very much agree with much of what's been said. I would perhaps add another level onto what Thomas has said about the power of partnerships, and I would just add the importance of tight coordination. We have to bring together the financing and the supply and the governments and the communities. So we really have to think carefully. And as I mentioned in my earlier comments, we've learned so much thanks to these 3 countries. So we're really well placed to do that. We know what needs to be done, and now we can start to set out and do it. Thank you, Maria.
Fantastic. What an amazing panel. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving them the hugest round of applause. Good luck to all of you with your work, and this is incredible. It is one of the leading causes of child deaths in the world. I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you, dear audience. You've been fantastic as well. Another applause for my fantastic panel, because they deserve it. They've been fantastic. And we have stuck to time. I don't know what's next. I think there is a 15-minute break. Yes, and please be back by 3:30 for our next plenary. Muchísimas gracias a todos. Que tengan una buenísima tarde y disfruten del descanso de 15 minutos. Adiós. Bye-bye. Thank you.